would like to thank everyone for coming here today in Alexandria at the Glengarry Sports Palace to the federal all candidates debate. Your presence is greatly appreciated. Your moderators for today's debate are John Hope, to my left, and I, André Gauthier. Les modérateurs du débat aujourd'hui sont Monsieur John Hope, à ma gauche, et moi-même, André Gauthier. The timekeeper is Mr. Mark Talbot. Le chronométeur, Mr. Mark Talbot. Et our parliamentarian, Mr. Gord White. Le parlementaire, Mr. Gord White.
Merci. Thank you, Andre. I would ask all present if you're able to stand and join Madame Anne Taverneau in the singing of O Canada. Debout, s'il vous plaît, pour le hymne national.
Porter l'épée, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Merci, Anne. Thank you. You may be seated. So let's get to the debate mode now, and I'll do the introduction of candidates. When they come up for their opening remarks, we've had a draw before the debate started, so that's the order they're going to be speaking in, and then that'll be reversed when we're at the conclusion. The introduction of the candidates is Mario Leclerc from the NDP. Sarah Good from the Liberal Party. Eric Duncan from the Conservative Party. And Gordon Kubinik from the Green Party. Welcome, and thank you all for being here. So, opening remarks. Mario, you with the first draw, so the floor is yours, sir, and you will take your time from Mark across the way here, our timer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be among us, among you today. It's my second time running in SDG, but fortunately enough, North Glengarry is part of our riding now, and I'm really honored to represent the NDP. And I'd like to thank John, Andre, Leonard, and everyone involved in this wonderful debate. And the venue is amazing. When I just came in, I said, oh my God, this is professional. I feel like we're in a national debate, right? That's wonderful. And merci beaucoup d'être là. On va vous donner le choix. C'est certain qu'avec les 4 questions qu'on vous a posées, vous allez sortir d'ici puis vous allez vous faire une idée pour qui vous voulez voter. C'est important, cette élection-là. On a des politiques très différentes, on a des façons de voir très différentes. Alors, chaque vote compte. Et puis, moi, je suis bien content je dis bonjour à Alexandria. Puis, pour la première fois, j'ai la chance de parler en français dans un débat. Merci.
Je suis très heureux d'être ici à Alexandria. Je suis ici tant que candidat de Parti vert parce qu'il y a 21 ans, j'ai failli mourir d'un virus. Je suis ingénieur chimie, alors j'ai fait preuve de rationalité et mis à profit les 2 années de convalescence pour découvrir quel était le défi le plus important de notre époque. J'ai acquis la conviction que l'empoisonnement du monde nous mènera à un désastre bien pire que la guerre tarif actuelle avec Donald Trump. That's why today I'm a 6-time Green Party candidate. Every other election I've been in Carleton. But strangely, at least strangely for most of you, I was a Reform Party supporter. In the 1990s, I was living in the eastern townships of Quebec, and I met Preston Manning. And I really liked what he had to say about personal and financial responsibility. Because of that illness I mentioned, I switched to the Greens simply in this way. I have a longer-term perspective, and I include nature in my calculations. Now, another person who looked in the future and said, let's not just do the math for short-term gain, but rather for that results in long-term pain, is John Turner. John Turner was the Liberal candidate in the 1988 free trade election, which he lost to Mulroney. He predicted that free trade would leave us vulnerable to an over-reliance on the Americans. And if he were alive today, he would be able to say, I told you so. My job as a Green candidate is that for all of the environmental and health crises coming our way, which you're going to hear about later, that I don't want to be able to say, I told you so, like John Turner did. Our job as a Green Party around the world, because we're the only party which is global, is always to be a junior partner and work with who's ever in power. We don't really have any problems working with everybody who deals with long-term problems of the environment, because the evidence is very clear. The way we treat nature is the way we treat each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric?
Good afternoon, bonjour à tous. I want to begin by thanking the Glengarry Times and all the partners that have brought our fellow candidates here together, and I look forward to a spirited conversation. For the past 5.5 years, I've been honored to represent most of SD&G, and I'd like to say welcome to the residents of North Glengarry in this election. I was given 2 pieces of advice the first time I ran in Glengarry County. Always wear your Duncan tartan tie as best you can. I've got that on today. And the other piece of advice was change your name to Eric McDuncan, and you'll do just fine. I'll do one of those 2 here today. I've served as a small-town mayor and warden twice of SD&G. I'm a proud community volunteer, and I pride myself on being accessible to you in every part of SD&G, through my local office and the casework we do, through attending numerous community events and business visits. It's an important thing to do. And I would say here in Alexandria, if I have the honor of becoming the Member of Parliament for SD&G, we would open a permanent weekly office here in Alexandria. Bien que je suis né dans une famille anglophone, j'ai un grand respect pour la communauté francophone, son histoire et sa culture ici à l'est de l'Ontario. Mon français, c'est un travail en progrès, mais je prends des leçons chaque semaine avec la Chambre de communes. J'ai pratiqué beaucoup, j'ai écouté la langue originale dans la Chambre et au comité. Il y a beaucoup de personnes ici à Alexandria ou North Glengarry SDG qui assistent avec ça aussi. The stakes in this election could not be higher. Today, the Liberals are asking for a 4th term in power after 9.5 years in office that has led millions of Canadians to being worse off and in financial difficulty. And ask yourself, are you better off today than you were 9 years ago? Are you safer? Is life more affordable? Despite your taxes going up and deficits increasing, are the services you're getting from the federal government better? I have heard loud and clear from you, it is time for change in Ottawa. Il est temps de changer à Ottawa. Conservatives want to restore the promise that Canadians have known and celebrated for generations, that hard work gets you a good life in a beautiful house on a safe street under a proud flag. And after the lost Liberal decade, that promise is broken. I look forward to the debate and the questions ahead.
Thank you. Sarah?
Bon après-midi. Je m'appelle Sarah Good. Sego, Sabagwango, Sarah Good, Yongyats. My name is Sarah Good, and I am campaigning to be your Liberal Member of Parliament in the newly expanded riding of Stormont, Dundas, Glengarry. I want to give a thank you to the organizers of this event and to my fellow candidates for being here today to discuss and debate, as well as to each and every one of you who took the time out of your day on your Sunday to be here listening to the issues that matter most to you. This afternoon, I will share my vision for the riding of SDG and indeed for all of Canada. You'll get to know me and my passion for advocating for my community. Je viens d'ici, profondément enraciné dans l'Est ontarien, où les liens familiaux et la vie communautaire s'entrelacent depuis des générations. Je suis fièrement bilingue, avec des origines francophones du côté de ma mère. I'm a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, and for the past 2.5 years, I have had the honor of serving as a counselor for the City of Cornwall. As a community leader, I have passionately advocated for affordability through vacancy taxes, dignified housing, economic development, and equity, successfully championing initiatives to enhance recreation and culture, supporting local businesses, and bolstering environmental action. Je travaille à améliorer les soins de santé et à renforcer la collaboration entre les secteurs, parce que nos systèmes doivent parler entre eux et mettre les gens au cœur des décisions. All issues I know are incredibly important to our community and must be the focus of our Member of Parliament. My philosophy has always been to leave things better than I found them. I am a collaborator and build strong relationships with representation at all levels, including business owners and not-for-profit. Thank
Time.
you.
Thank you. So the following are moderator questions. These 4 questions that Andre and I will be asking have been shared with the candidates. We will have 2 in English and 2 in French. Question 1, and I would think we'll follow the same order of responding if that's okay with the candidates. Perfect. Transparency. Over the last 10 years of this government, we have seen an unprecedented outpouring of funding, notably overseas. What will your government do in regards to keeping Canadians informed and in the know with where our tax dollars will be spent moving forward? Mario.
Thank you. I think the most important thing to say is no one is safe until everyone is safe. We need, the question asked, the answer is transparency and accountability. When we get the release of statistic later, it's hard to plan. We spend in 2022-23, we spend $15 billion in international assistance. 76% of that amount went to development assistance. And a lot of that money goes overseas to disaster relief. 20% stays overseas, stays here within our borders. People who fled Ukraine, as you would remember, are helped with the international assistance dollar. Canada has contributed $400 million to Haiti to promote 3 things: security, stability, and democracy. Now the US is asking us, or pressuring us to cut. We and other free world countries should not be pressured. We should give more. Again, the most important thing for the NDP is to say no one is safe until everyone is safe. Thank you.
En réalité, cette apparence de générosité n'est pas appuyée par des sommes importants. Comparé à ses pairs de G7, le Canada affiche l'un des niveaux de l'aide étrangère le plus faible de pourcentage de revenu national, soit un peu de 0,3% de PIB, soit même la moitié de l'objectif convenu. Mettons ces chiffres en perspective. Notre économie aujourd'hui, c'est 2 milliards de dollars, ce qui se place le 9e rang mondial. let's really look at these numbers in perspective, in context. Because remember, as the Greens, we're always looking at the big picture. Let's compare Trudeau and the Harper years. Under Harper, foreign aid was $5 billion in 2014. Under Trudeau in 2020, it was $6 billion. Adjusted for inflation, pretty much the same. Now, there was a giant blip in 2023 where it jumped to $16 billion. I went, oops, why did he do that? Well, it turns out that all they did is met the agreed upon objective of the G7 countries, which England also do. Since then, it has dropped down. Another part of this, really the question then becomes, why do it? Well, we reduce infectious diseases because those diseases come here. We create trade and economic opportunities, and then we prevent violence and security threats, which arrive here as well. It's an investment. Are there some problems in the details? Yes, but overall, whether you're conservative or liberal, it can be a good idea.
So to the question, there certainly has been an outpouring of money and increased spending over the course of the last 9.5 years. Just to give a context, our national debt as a country has doubled to over $1.3 trillion. The average Canadian family now pays $10,000 a year more in taxes than they did in 2015, and the sustainability of that is not there. For foreign aid and investment, we do need more accountability and transparency. I take Mario's point, and I agree wholeheartedly. We have a role as Canadians to help with disaster relief. I think of the conflict and the war in Ukraine and how Vladimir Putin's unjustified war and attack, continued attack, is something where we need to have investments. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of dollars and a lot of programs that lack the accountability. We need, what I can say specifically to answer the question about what we can do more to increase transparency. It's a little technical, but I think it's very valid and true of what we need to do. We have an access to information and freedom of information program in this country that is severely broken. As any Canadian, you can go and request documentation, numbers, and stats. However, it only costs about $10, which is reasonable. But the time frame to get a response back on that information can be months, and in many cases, many, many years. That's years after program money is spent that all of a sudden you can get the answers on what happened. We also need to give more teeth to the Auditor General. I'm a big fan of the independent office of the Governor General. I've sat on the Public Accounts Committee before. We need to have more value for money audits, and we need to have the Auditor General not just have their reports sit on the sidelines and collect dust afterwards, but meaningful action and change. If there's waste and fraud that comes on, the AG can investigate that, and that can make sure whether it's foreign or domestic, we can address those issues.
Thank you. Canadians are peacekeepers. This is part of our identity. And when we look at foreign aid, we need to understand the opportunities, as stated by my colleagues, that this presents for Canada and for our riding. Much of this funding does play into our safety and security and our international relationships. And when it comes to transparency, it's essential that our Member of Parliament has clear, honest, and frequent communication with their constituents. My commitment to you is to produce annual public fiscal reports so that you don't have to go looking for this information yourself, detailing riding spending, including my own expenses. We'll hold community forums so we can explain it face to face, so you don't need to go looking for me in places like golf tournaments or spaghetti dinners. Overseas funding is a clear win. There are trade deals that enhance opportunities for our farmers and our producers here at home. So when we look at the foreign spending that we are incurring, we have to understand that we are investing in the international stage, and this is an overall benefit for not just the people of our riding, but for Canadians overall. Thank you.
La deuxième question va s'adresser à Gordon en premier. Les jeunes, la participation électorale est en baisse depuis 2 générations. En particulier, c'est les jeunes électeurs. Que compte faire votre gouvernement pour impliquer le public dans notre système électoral et comment inciter nos jeunes à prendre les rênes pour assurer la prospérité du Canada?
Merci beaucoup pour les questions. Désolé, mais la participation électorale n'a pas diminué. Elle était 69% en 1980 et à 68% en 2015. Elle a fluctué entre les deux beaucoup, selon les électeurs accordent oui ou non l'importance de l'élection. Et c'est le même pour les jeunes, même si leur participation a toujours été plus faible. Cependant, leur participation est élevée lorsqu'ils sont enthousiastes, comme l'élection de 2015, où 57% des électeurs jeunes ont voté, et faible lorsqu'ils ne sont pas, comme en 2004, où il était seulement 38%. So the numbers have gone up and down depending upon how excited people are about the election. But let's compare ourselves to other countries. In the USA, those who vote below 30 has only come out 20%. We're looking pretty good. Their overall voter turnout is only 42%. And then in other countries, so we're way ahead of the Americans, like, yay, all right? Other countries, though, are way ahead of us. In particular, Germany and Holland have voter turnouts of 75, 80, and more percent. When the Scottish independent election happened, referendum, 17-year-olds turned out 75%. It's very simple. When people feel that their vote matters, when they feel they have an impact, they show up. Those systems that have higher voter precipitation have some form of proportional representation. Many people out there are probably not going to vote for me. They say, it's a wasted vote. Well, with proportional representation, as promised by our Liberal friends, which they did not fulfill, because Liberals, I'm sad to say really great things and then often don't deliver. If we had proportional representation, the voter percentage would go up and you'd see even more enthusiastic youth voting. Thank you.
Je pense qu'on va voir une augmentation de le niveau et la participation des jeunes à cette élection. Les dossiers, les problèmes dans le pays maintenant, en particulièrement le dossier de logement est une grande chose pour les jeunes ici au Canada et ici au SDG. Je pense qu'il y a spécifiquement deux choses. Les cours et l'éducation de civics dans l'école secondaire, et c'est très important pour comprendre l'importance de la démocratie et les trois niveaux du gouvernement. Et aussi, je pense, c'est une idée personnelle pour moi, mais inciter les jeunes à se présenter aux élections. I think getting young people to run and be on the ballot is a great way to get young people to get out and vote. I was very lucky. I ran at the age of 18 as a councillor and became mayor at age 22. Our local municipal elections at the time would normally see a voter turnout of between 30 and 35%. We had younger people on the ballot. I can tell you and attest from our Get Out the Vote efforts, the number of young people that went out and voted because there was somebody they knew, someone their age talking about their issues on the ballot made a big difference. I'm a little cautious now. I'm 37. I'm in that gray area. I'm not too young anymore to say that, but the next generation, and part of that is mentorship. And I believe we have a role as candidates and then as members of parliament, if we have the honor of being elected, speaking in schools, both high schools and post-secondary education institutions, about the importance not only of voting, but participating in the process, being a candidate, voting, volunteering, and being involved. And I'll just say in this past election, I think there's going to be a big turnout in young people casting a ballot that are very concerned about affordability and home ownership.
C'est sûr que c'est important d'engager nos jeunes dans le système politique. On doit améliorer l'éducation civique en travaillant avec les provinces, à faire sûr que c'est quelque chose qui est continuellement engagé dedans. Et c'est vrai, il est important d'engager les jeunes pour être candidates, aussi être au courant des problèmes qu'ils peuvent concentrer sur avec les politiques. Pour moi, on est presque la même âge, moi et Eric, mais je me sens encore jeune aussi. Je sais, dans mon campagne politique, j'ai eu plusieurs gens qui sont des jeunes, qui sont dans l'école secondaire, qui ont venu à aider mon campagne et on les embrasse avec les bras ouverts parce que c'est important de leur dire, vous avez une place ici, vous avez un rôle à jouer. Alors, plus que ça, c'est dire, oui, votre voix compte. Même si vous ne pouvez pas voter à cet instant, ça va compter. Et c'est important toujours d'être engagé dans ça. Moi aussi, je suis déçue qu'on n'a pas eu les réformes électorales. Et ça, c'est quelque chose que je vais pousser pour dans mon candidature. Et si je suis députée, je vais continuer de pousser pour ça. I will continue to push for electoral reform. This is a promise that I'm also disappointed was not kept, and one which I will continue to push for within my role if I am so fortunate as to become your MP here in SDG. Young people are important. We must always ensure they're engaged, and we must look at how we can improve the role of Elections Canada in being able to actually teach people more about the importance of our electoral process. Thank you.
Merci André pour la question. L'important, ce n'est pas juste de savoir comment y répondre, mais qu'est-ce qu'on va faire à la suite des choses. Je pense que c'est une responsabilité partagée. Ça commence alentour de quand tu soupes avec tes parents, c'est là que ça commence. Quand tu jases des nouvelles, quand tu regardes sur ton... Maintenant, on parle du téléphone cellulaire là, avec notre fille. Là. Bon, c'est rendu nos nouvelles, puis c'est correct comme ça aussi. C'est comme ça que l'éducation à la démocratie commence. Puis il faudrait utiliser aussi les outils qu'on a. Élections Canada a plein de belles choses d'éducation civique qu'on peut utiliser pour, comme être présenté. D'ailleurs, le 24 ou le 25, avec mes collègues, il y a l'école de Tagway, l'école secondaire à Havenmore, qui organise, c'est brillant, ça devrait être plus ça devrait se passer dans plus d'écoles secondaires. Je sais que la première fois que je me suis présenté en 2011, il y avait ça aussi, puis j'étais là. Je trouve que c'est fantastique parce que c'est là que les jeunes commencent à comprendre l'importance de s'impliquer. Quand un jeune arrive, puis il a son permis de conduire, c'est un peu la même chose. Là. Il est fier, puis ça lui donne confiance. Et un député du NPD comme moi, ben, on va ramener l'âge de votation à 16 ans. D'ailleurs, je pense que le Parti vert aussi est d'accord avec ça. Puis moi aussi, la représentation proportionnelle, tout à fait d'accord. Et avec tous mes grands respects, le gouvernement libéral, depuis 2015, sur les règnes de M. Justin Trudeau, qui était, on ne s'en trompe pas, il était un des libéraux le plus à gauche. Il n'a pas réussi à faire la réforme électorale. Puis moi, je me dis que ce soit un gouvernement conservateur ou libéral, ça n'arrivera pas, la réforme électorale. Merci.
Thank you. Question number 3, and we'll start with Eric. Gun crime. We have seen a huge rise in gun crime in all parts of Canada over the last number of years. Since the introduction of Bill C-21, the gun ban and buyback program has not improved the situation. What will your party do as our new government to rectify this failed attempt to curb the violence in our communities?
Thanks for the question, John. So let's just give some Stats Canada data about how bad and how much crime has skyrocketed in the last 9.5 years. This is from Stats Canada's direct website. Violent crime is up 50%. Firearms offenses, gun-related incidents and issues up 116%. The Toronto Police Association, we talk about what the problem is. It's not what was tried in Bill C-21. That was an abject failure, and the Liberals had to pull back because instead of going after illegal guns and gangs and criminals in cities, they went after Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle. I can tell you the issue is not those that are working or using or volunteering or being members of the Cornwall Handgun Club. Law-abiding firearms owners are not the issue in this country. Toronto Police Association says 85% of the gun crimes committed in the city of Toronto come from illegal firearms smuggled in from the United States. And here's how bad and what we need to fix. We only scan 1% of shipping containers that come into this country, both in and out. It's a problem when you only scan 1% going out, because we have a car theft epidemic in this country, and coming in we only scan 1% of containers, and we have gun smuggling, and in our area here in SDNG, we are known sadly as a hotbed for contraband, gun smuggling, human trafficking, which we need to address. What would we do? We would not put in Bill C-21. Instead, we're going to go after and end the broken bail system for repeat violent offenders and keep them behind bars. And lastly, what we're going to do is have a 24/7 border integrity unit in this country, including right along the St. Lawrence River, to stop gun smuggling from coming into our country.
There is no question that gun crime is a serious issue, both in Canada and abroad, and our government takes that issue seriously. While there is no quick solution to the problem, and no Bill C-21 was not able to miraculously solve the problem, it has been a piece of the puzzle and a part of that solution that we will continue to invest in. In addition to that existing solution that we are not prepared to abandon at this point, we are increasing funding to RCMP to allow for an additional 1,000 RCMP officers to be hired, as well as an additional 1,000 CBSA officers. This is going to help prevent the trafficking of illegal firearms, which is where those problems lie. There will be an additional $750 million for community grants so that we can have officers in our communities to keep us safe. But more than that, we need to look at the root causes of this. We can't just create laws and expect this to change behavior. The social determinants of crime are the same as the social determinants of health. And when people don't have adequate access to housing, education, and employment opportunities, they are driven towards crime. So we need to address this problem where it starts, not just create laws and put people in jail. Again, it's a complex issue, and it will require a complex solution. In addition to the proposals that I've already stated, we will be automatically revoking gun licenses for people who are convicted of violent crimes, particularly those crimes related to intimate partner violence. This is going to help curb this problem, but let's not be fooled. This is not an easy solution. There is no magic wand, and we are not going to fix it in one fell swoop. It will take our communities, and it will take collective action. Thank you.
I think there's a threefold to this question, to answer this question. First of all, we do need stricter border control to stop the import of illegal weapons into Canada, mainly from the U.S. 85% of weapons are used. And as Sarah mentioned, 11,000 CBSA officers at the border were slashed by the conservative government 10 years ago. But the Liberal government, remember, they have 10 years to reinstate that, and they haven't done that. And most importantly, the NDP will address the roots of violent crime, poverty, unemployment, lack of education, lack of opportunity. Childcare, education, living wage becomes so crucial. We need to expand Medicare, dental care, mental health assistance, prescription drug like the NDP did in last Parliament session. We need to break the vicious circle of poverty, and that's the only NDP that could get these things done. People's basic needs must be met if they are to live in peace. Thank you.
Just a comment to the candidates. You have a 1-minute chance for rebuttal.
I haven't spoken yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gordon.
I'm used to being ignored. It's okay.
My sincere apologies, sir.
No problem.
An extra minute.
As you know, I'm an engineer. I'm also been a high school physics teacher, so now pretend you're in high school. engineers love graphs. We love numbers. Because I'm a Green Party person, I'm looking at the big picture, and I look at the whole world. Here's a graph of Canada. This is overall crime. 1962 to 2013. Notice how it went up for a long time, and then it's been going down ever since. This is overall crime, not violent crime. But this isn't only Canada. This is every other G20 country. There's something global going on to the crime rate. And here's another little detail. The statistic, which Eric said is correct, but he only went back to 2013. I call that cherry picking. Here's a really neat thing. If you go down and you put down here 2009, 2013, and then over here 2023, this is the graph you get, like that. It turns out that the crime rate now for violent crime is the same as 2009. It did go up 55%, but it had gone down 55%. The more interesting question is, why did it do that? We need to look at things over the longer term. The other thing is we have to compare ourselves with which country. Now, clearly, guns are bad. The problem of smuggling from the U.S. is huge. The numbers are correct. What Mexico is doing is they are suing the arms companies directly. The government, U.S. government's not going to do anything. Are you crazy? You sue them. They understand being sued. Even Donald Trump understands being sued. So Mexico is going after the gun companies directly because they know what's going on and they're profiting. We should do the same thing. I know many people here, are almost American in the right to bear arms. I have some weapons. They're all registered. I'm a big fan of that. We spent a year living in Australia. They had one mass murder in their history, and they said, enough of this. We want to live in a safe country. They have zero mass murders ever since. We need to look at the world and not be over-emotional. Thank you.
Gordon. Thank you. So now the candidates will try this again. We have a 1-minute rebuttal, and 15 seconds will be your time warning. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So I just wanted to pick up on what Sarah had said in her comments about there being no quick solutions. That is absolutely false. There is a very quick solution what we can do, and that is fixing our broken bail system. And we talk about the root causes of the issue. It is a Liberal bill that was passed under their watch, Bill C-75. And you ask any law enforcement official, I encourage you to speak to a police officer over the course of the next 2 weeks and ask them about our bail system. They are extremely frustrated that repeat violent offenders are arrested one day, out on bail within 24 hours, and repeatedly over and over and over again committing crimes without any accountability. We're talking about gun crimes, the most serious of them. This is ridiculous that this is even an issue, that they lose the right to bail. We're not talking about throwing everybody in jail. That is not what is being said, not what was there. If you're a repeat violent offender, it is common sense in this country. It is a quick solution that we can go and you lose the right to go out on bail. That's common sense. That's an instant thing we can do to save lives in this country.
Thank you, Eric. Sarah?
The Conservatives love to talk about common sense. And common sense says that there was crime forever. For the entire history of human existence, there has been crime. The best we can do is support people in our community to prevent that crime. And do I agree there are changes that can be made to improve our system? 100%. There is no question about that. And I'm incensed by the presumption that Bill C-75 somehow created gun crime and that it didn't exist prior to that. It is absolutely ludicrous and the opposite of common sense. That's that.
That's not true.
Mario?
I just like to have every time we're talking about resolving an issue, we're talking about comprehensive approach, focuses on here, we're talking about enforcement, compensation, and education. This law thing, we can work on it, and we have done in decades, but the law is going that far. I'm paralegal, and I'm really interested in law, and there's so much we can do, but as I said earlier, education, the roots of the problem is fighting. They're doing some program to, like the NDP is proposing in its platform, to combat the poverty, unemployment, robust unemployment and insurance, all of these things, and doubling the disability benefits, the GIC, guaranteed income supplement, all of these things help the less favored people grow and then get out of this vicious circle. Thank you.
Gordon?
I have the enviable role of being able to agree with all my friends here. And remember, we're actually all on the same side, even though it doesn't sound like it. I agree with Eric. It turns out that 30% of homicides were done by somebody who was released either from house arrest or parole. That law was flawed. And I'm sure it's going to change when nobody's out there. On the other hand, what Sarah says about the social determinants of health being the fundamental cause of crime is absolutely true as well. There are solutions. Glasgow used to be the murder capital for Europe. What they did is they put in a program called the Glasgow Model, surprise, surprise. And what they did is over 10 years with a focus on mental health and prevention rather than punishment, they reduced violence by 50%. We can do the same. We can be tough and we can be compassionate all at the same time. Sounds very Canadian to me. Thank you.
La quatrième question s'adresse à Sarah en premier. L'accessibilité financière. Les Canadiens ont été confrontés à de nombreux défis en ce qui concerne le coût de la vie. Que fera votre parti lorsqu'il formera le gouvernement pour permettre aux jeunes familles canadiennes de subvenir à leurs besoins?
Merci. Je suis une des jeunes familles. Et je sais que les familles ici en SDG méritent vivre sans stress financier. Je le vois partout en SDG. Les libérales sous le leadership de Mark Carney, vont garder le frais de garderie à 10 $ par journée. Ça, c'est quelque chose qui ont laissé ma famille à travailler et contribuer à la force des workers. On va sauver des milliers de parents pour être capables de travailler. Notre plan de construire 4 millions de maisons va couper le coût des rentes et on va ça va être capable de... je vais changer à anglais parce que... We're going to increase the availability of prefab housing, and we're going to boost the housing supply. This is going to be something that is going to directly impact the affordability of housing in all of SDG and Cornwall. On a le terrain pour le faire, pour construire, et on a ici en SDG des compagnies qui font des maisons modulaires et préfabrication. Alors, c'est important. C'est important aussi d'augmenter les bénéfices de Canada Child Benefit pour les enfants sous 10 ans. OK? 500 $ par année, ça ne sent pas beaucoup, mais aux familles, ça fait toute la différence. Notre Skilled Trades Accelerator, je m'excuse, c'est tout en anglais, ça va aider aux jeunes pour entrer la force des constructions et aider à construire les maisons qu'on a besoin. Ce sont des programmes qui vont matériellement aider aux jeunes familles à avoir une vie plus abordable. C'est quelque chose qui nous concerne toutes et c'est une priorité du gouvernement libéral.
Merci, Sarah.
Merci pour la question. Je pense que c'est la question de l'urne, c'est celle-là. C'est la chose la plus importante qui s'en vient après le 28 avril. Nous, au NPD, on va faire un contrôle des loyers. Quand on fait un contrôle des loyers, évidemment, ça fait baisser aussi le coût des maisons, puis ça l'aide aux gens d'acheter, d'avoir un meilleur prix pour une maison. On va aussi profiter de l'occasion pour aider les premiers acheteurs. On va leur offrir 0,5 % sur 5 ans. Ça fait 2 000 $ par année qu'ils vont épargner. En fait, notre portfolio dans ce niveau-là, c'est 9 800 $ par année. C'est quand même, ça a passé beaucoup sur silence. Pour ça, je n'en parle parce que le NPD a un programme pour aider les gens de tous les jours. On a eu les soins dentaires, c'est le NPD qui a apporté ça. Jack Mixing, notre leader national. On a eu l'assurance médicaments pour les pilules contraceptives, puis l'insuline pour les diabétiques. On va aussi baisser le seuil. Les gens vont pouvoir gagner 4 500 $ de plus avant d'être imposés. Moi, j'ai travaillé à Revenu Canada pendant une dizaine d'années, alors je connais les seuils. À l'heure actuelle, c'est 15 500. Tu n'es pas taxé, mais on va monter ça à 19 500. C'est quand même un bon montant qui va sauver 1 500 $ par année aux familles. Ensuite de ça, celle-là, la maison, la TPS, pour l'achat de véhicules canadiens neufs, 3 000 $. Je ne sais pas si vous vous souvenez, pendant la campagne, on était les premiers à dire ceci. 5-6 jours plus tard, oups, les conservateurs sont arrivés avec la même idée. Bonjour. Merci.
La vérité, ce n'est pas facile. Le Canada est le plus faible nombre de logements d'habitants par le G7 pendant plus que 20 ans. Ça veut dire dans le gouvernement conservateur et libéral. La réalité aussi est, nous ne sommes pas vraiment un grand pays parce que 90% d'entre nous vivent moins de 100 000 de la frontière américaine. Nous devons abandonner concernant les logements affordable, sorry.
Abordable.
Les maisons unifamilières pour les logements quadruplex, cohabitation et les coopératives d'habitation. I did a map for you. I actually did art for you today. You're lucky you. This is Canada. We all live down here. Okay, so we're actually pretty crowded when you look at it that way. For affordable housing, we need to change how we do affordable housing. But when I think about it, there's actually an underlying driver. We have entered what's called the third world trap. Now, we don't think of ourselves as a third world, but they didn't used to be like that either. What happened is their population grew faster than their ability to grow infrastructure. And that's what's been happening to us. So our standard of living is going down. Our GDP per capita has been going down for the last several years. And this idea of immigration can be good if we can build the infrastructure for it. We haven't been able to build proper infrastructure, especially housing. There's an inferred message in here I've heard many times from my conservative friends that it should all be in the private realm. Wrong. Every other G7 country has public housing for affordability reasons except the US. There's a big role for the government in this affordable housing thing. We did it after World War II. The government under the Liberals actually had a very good cooperative housing project in the 80s. It was canceled by Mulroney, and that's when our real problems began. Our homelessness started then. We can change that now. Thank you.
Merci. Merci.
Nous avons besoin de changement de gouvernement après 10 ans de gouvernement libéral. Les chiffres parlent d'eux-mêmes. Il y a 2 millions de personnes par mois qui ont visité une banque alimentaire dans ce pays. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire? 2 choses. Éliminer le taxe carbone complètement et réduire les impôts sur le revenu du personnel. So I just want to give you a context about how bad life how life is not affordable after 9 years of the Liberals. We now have in this country 2 million people using a food bank every month. And when we speak to groups like GAPE, House of Lazarus here in Cornwall and SDNG, they've seen nearly a doubling in the last 5 years since before the pandemic. Our housing prices have doubled. In 2015, you could buy the average house, according to the Cornwall and District Real Estate Board, was $179,000. Last fall, the last time I got the information, it was $422,000. That's a 135% increase. In mortgage payments, when you take the interest that goes on top of that, it has nearly tripled mortgage payments for the average family. What do we need to do? We need to get more housing built and more supply in this country. What we've proposed as Conservatives is something very pragmatic, is we can eliminate the GST on new home builds up to $1.3 million. That would save instantly $65,000 on a new home and save nearly $3,000 a year in mortgage payments for a family. That adds up and makes a difference. It's estimated that an extra 40,000 new homes be built because of that policy. And the one thing I'll just say, as I know my time is getting short in my 2 minutes, it goes by fast, is we need to get rid of the carbon tax completely and for good. The other parties, all three parties the other night at the debate, said they're going to bring some form of a carbon tax back after the election. That cannot be allowed after what we've seen it do the last 9.5 years.
Sarah, une réfutation?
Ben oui, j'aimerais. Oui. Je vais le faire en anglais. Okay. The Conservative Party of Canada's tax cuts disproportionately favor the rich. They voted against $10 day daycare. They voted against dental care. They voted against bringing the retirement age back to 65. They voted against increases to the Canada Child Benefit. They put families at risk. Their solution to increase the annual TFSA contribution doesn't help anyone save. You can't use that unless you're actually saving money. Their solution is privatization and to let the free market figure it out. It's not going to work. The carbon tax. If we want to talk about diversifying our international trade relationships, we have to understand the crucial role that a price on carbon plays. If we don't want to pay tariffs as we're trading with the European Union, we must have a price on carbon. Otherwise, we will put ourselves at risk of facing tariffs. So let us not be short-sighted and look at an issue being inflammatory. Let us look at the widespread implications that having this
Sarah?
has.
Oui.
Thank you.
Merci. Merci. Mario?
Merci, André. I think the only party that would stop the predatory investor developers from getting those affordable housing and putting it on, doing some painting and flipping this around and making huge profit. That's the NDP will hack up on this. That's about time that we do something about, when we're talking about affordable housing, this is it. This is the core of the issue. Thank you.
Gord?
I thought I haven't answered yet? I got a rebuttal. Okay, let's move on to the second part of the equation. I was just about to do a great graph for you again. Okay? Exactly. It's Sunday afternoon. It's a gorgeous day. The fact that you're here on this gorgeous day, thank you so much. Because everybody here, I mean me included, I got to admit, we worked hard. Like, this is actually hard work. You'd be shocked. Anyway, here's a graph for you. House prices that we've talked about, and by the way, that's the price of food too. These are big picture things. The thing we don't talk about is wages. Our wages have stagnated. A couple of reasons for that is A, we don't have a basic minimum wage that is living. There's a concept out there called the living wage. We actually don't want, I'm a right winger, right? I don't want government programs. I'm not NDP. But you have to pay people enough, otherwise they're going to need government programs and they don't earn enough money. The living wage is, for this area, 21 bucks an hour. What we can do as a federal government is federally controlled institutions, that includes banks and airlines, minimum living wage. And it varies by where you are. That's one thing we can do.
Gordon, time.
Thank you.
Merci.
That's enough.
Merci. Eric?
If the Liberals are re-elected, the carbon tax is coming back. You just heard it here right now. Just before an election, they went and they cut the gas prices. We had candidates, including Sarah, go and stand in front of gas stations and brag about how life was now more affordable thanks to them. That is admitting for the last 9 years they made life more affordable by putting a carbon tax on. And you heard it just here again, that if they bring a carbon tax in, they're going to do it right after the election. They won't give you any of the details about it whatsoever, which tells you everything you need to know about it. Dealing with other countries around the world, they have been coming to us to ask for our liquefied natural gas. Germany, Greece, Japan, South Korea, they all want to do business with us. They're not going to tariff us on items and things that they need desperately, like liquefied natural gas, to get away from countries like Russia and other nefarious actors and to lower their emissions instead of using things like coal. It's absolutely ridiculous what we've heard here today. Again, the Liberals, just before an election, cut the carbon tax. They won't tell you what's going to come in. They're going to bring it back in, but they won't
Thank
give you the
you,
details.
Eric.
Life is less affordable because of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
We will now call 4 of our audience members who put their names forward to ask the candidates a question. These names have been drawn by our parliamentarian, So if you could make your way to the mic just to the left here.
Nous allons maintenant appeler 4 membres du public qui se sont manifestés pour poser une question au candidat. Rhonda Quinn, si vous pouvez vous présenter au micro ici. If you can come up to the microphone. Lori Moss. Gail Belair Abrams. Jackie Milner.
Hello. So my name is Rhonda Quinn. Sure. So to put into context who I am, I'm a mental health professional in the community. I'm a social worker in the community. And for the last 5 years, I've been working with trans and gender diverse folks who have expressed concern with what they've been hearing in the United States with their safety, their loss of access to medical care, their concern for their safety and wellness within our community. I do believe Canada is different. I truly do. One of the challenges that I exist.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you just put that in the form of a question?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
What will your parties do to ensure the rights and access to medical care that we so fundamentally believe in? Will you speak out? Will you support? What will you do?
Thank you for the question. We'll start with Mario.
Thank you, John. The NDP has made an introduction to pharmacare, and with 25 NDP MPs, 7% of the old crew, 338, we had succeeded to get the dental care. It's very popular, by the way, and the pharmacare. And we're the only party that want to expand this pharmacare comprising within the mental health professional. And we certainly see this as a part of our basket of social safety net, as anything with CPP, guaranteed income supplement, old age security, all these are part of the basket, and we're certainly going to act upon this. And we propose also to mention that at CBC, Glengarry Market at the radio station, we had that the other day morning. That was a very nice conversation, by the way. I invite every one of you to listen to this. It was a great discussion. And we propose to double the disability benefit for folks that they live in dignity, and that the NDP is the party that would address that issue for sure.
Gordon?
Thank you very much. I'm glad that everybody is feeling much safer in Canada than the US, and we want to definitely keep it that way. I'm going to agree with my NDP friend here that mental health is health. I mean, this is part of our body. There should be no difference. It needs to be part of the Canada Health Act. My wife, who's over here, is a mental health professional, and she sees the impact of that. And all of us have friends who suffer. So safety is a big thing. We include that. I think it's a bigger part, though. There's more to than just provided service. It's this idea that we see a person as a person, and we just see them that way. All of us have various, unique qualities. I haven't met a perfect person yet. I don't mean anybody's imperfect. I mean that in the most loving way, that all of us have a gift to give. And the more the society in general does that with all of us, the better off all of us are going to be. Thank you.
Eric?
I would agree that we're not the United States in many ways, thankfully, but I agree we need to do everything we can to combat hate against anybody. And I would say over the course of the last several years, we've seen tensions rise when it comes to dealing with issues in the LGBTQ2+ community. I'll say myself, I'm proud to be myself openly gay. I came out in rural Eastern Ontario here in 2017 and talked about an example of standing up for people. I was really proud of the work we did a couple years ago, a coalition of people across the country to go and end the discriminatory blood ban for men who have sex with men. That stayed around way too long. I was able to share my personal story of the First time I went to donate blood and didn't realize until I got in to do the questionnaire that I would be disqualified and my blood would be thrown in the dumpster simply because I was gay. We've got some changes. There's more to do. As an example, I work behind the scenes right now and hoping to launch something later this year on organ donation, where it's the exact same thing that people aren't even aware of. When it comes to trans issues, I think the one challenge that we have right now in our country when we have this dialogue is the role with parents and respecting parents' involvement in that process. I don't think they're mutually exclusive of putting anybody in danger in any way, but making sure parents are brought along when it comes to their child's care. It has been a sensitive topic for many years on a wide variety of fronts, and I think that's something that we need to have to make sure that not only every person, regardless of their background and their story, get health care that they need, but also making sure that in the case of children, parents are involved as well. And I think there's certainly a reasonable solution that can be found from that.
Thank you so much for your question, Rhonda. And I think you bring forward an issue that has been top of mind because unfortunately, many trans people have been under attack for quite some time. We've seen that not only in the States, but by the leader of the Conservative Party openly denying the existence of, quote, more than two genders. Well, we see trans people around us. I know trans people in my life. And when we don't recognize and respect the existence of a person, how can we even claim to keep them safe? It isn't possible. People should be allowed to exist as they are, freely be respected. That is the bottom line of all of this. When it comes to accessing health services, we have a major problem, not just with access to mental health service, but health overall. The Liberal government, under Mark Carney, our government will continue to bolster funding for healthcare, will continue to ensure that healthcare professionals are trained, that foreign credentials are recognized, and that all members within the 2S LGBTQ community and beyond, all of us, that we have access to the care that we need and that we are kept safe and supported. Thank you.
Not on. Okay. I'm Lori Mullis. This riding sits on the St. Lawrence River, and Canada and the United States shares many transboundary waters, and they have been governed over the past through treaties and agreements, including the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement, and that's affected our remedial action plan here in Cornwall. And our transboundary waters are important for agriculture, transport, energy generation, municipal waters. What will your government do to ensure the continued cooperation with our two countries for the sovereignty of our border waters and for the cooperation between our countries?
We'll start with Gordon for this question.
That's a really easy question. Thank you so much. I have no idea right offhand, so all I can start with is saying that in the past, we've actually had very, very good experiences with the Americans. Right now, it's a disaster. I know they're, for example, tearing up the Columbia River Treaty that was just agreed upon. For this moment in time, we're going to have to not buckle down. We're going to have to be very strong. We're basically at war with Donald Trump. He said things that we all have heard that are super nasty. On the other hand, I've lived in the States for many years. I have a daughter that was born in Vermont, and I love being in the States. I've only personally had good experiences down there, but right now, we're going to have to stand really firm. And it's the other areas. I think that in everything else we do, we'll be, when we're arguing from a position of strength. People have talked about Donald Trump basically loving poker. I love poker. I actually teach most of the students I teach poker. So I look at that this way. And you have to have the cards in your hand. I got to agree that Carney's move to go to Europe was actually a good idea. I like that, actually. So when we're in a position of strength, we can then negotiate these things, and we can't buckle in. But that's going to be really, really hard. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better. That means, once again, diversifying our trade. The free trade agreement we have put us in a great position of weakness, and we can change that like all of these other agreements. Keep firm on them. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Laurie. So this is an issue, a very local one that we've been struggling to deal with for the last couple of years. The International Joint Commission is the organization that deals with water levels between Canada and the U.S. in the Great Lakes and our St. Lawrence River Basin. The problem that we have on the Canadian side is the Americans, when it comes to this, are more organized and have more of an expedited process to come to decisions and move things forward. We're at their mercy, unfortunately, which I don't agree with and think we should be. And here's why. It's called ping-pong politics with the federal government. When you think of the St. Lawrence River and all the different jurisdictions and people and federal agencies that are involved, you've got global affairs, which deals with the International Joint Commission. You've got transport for the shipping. You've got environment and climate change. You've got fisheries and oceans. You have the Treasury Board that deals with the appropriation of money. And then you have emergency preparedness. You have national defense, public safety that deals with the border issues. There's not one single agency or minister that is responsible for that waterway and its well-being. As soon as we start going locally with mayors and groups and looking for even working on issues with wakes that are going in and some of the soil erosion that's happening on the shores down towards Morseburg, it's not us, it's transport. It's not us, it's Environment Canada. It's not us, it's global affairs. Nobody takes responsibility. So to answer the question, what we can do is, I would be advocating in a conservative government that we modernize and streamline decisions when it comes to the health and the future of the St. Lawrence River and the Great Lakes by having one minister and one department take the lead to coordinate the approach to make sure we protect the environment and all the commerce that goes along with it.
Thank you so much for your question, Laurie. Canada has many important natural resources, but arguably the most important resource that we have is our fresh water. This is something that we need to do everything we possibly can to protect. And with the uncertainty of our relationship with the United States and the threats that are being faced upon us, we need to tread very delicately because we don't know and we really cannot impose or control. What we can do is control what we have here. That is the very first step. Now, under the Harper government, they stripped important protections, regulatory protections of our freshwater sources for development. But what does that mean when we are putting our most important resource at risk, our freshwater? Our Liberal government under Mark Carney will help protect our waterways, and we will work to negotiate in a way that is calm, that is direct, and make it very clear the importance of our fresh water to not just the people of Canada, but to all of North America and the entire world. This is something we cannot live without, so we must protect it.
Thank you again. It's a fascinating question. It's not easy to. I think we should work on the united front, as my colleagues alluded to. I would not play politics on this one. When it comes to Canadian values, water is one of them. And if I be your MP in April 28th, I would certainly work in coordination, making sure all our partners, agriculture sectors, and all the main folks within the provinces, and to make sure we speak on one voice, and how are we going to respond to Mr. Trump. Again, it's challenging, but I want to make sure we don't do politics on that, and we work on the front, one front unit voice. Thank you.
Next question.
Gail Belair Abrams, knowing the National Post, the Toronto Sun, Calgary Herald, Edmonton Journal, Calgary Sun, Edmonton Sun, Ottawa Citizen, and Montreal Gazette are all owned by multi-billion-dollar American conglomerates, do you candidates agree with Pierre Poilievre that our Canadian-owned CBC that provides a voice for Canadians from coast to coast to coast should be totally defunded and dismantled?
We'll start with Eric for this question.
We have spoken, Pierre has made this in his leadership race and here now. We have a lot of tough choices to make as Canadians. We have to remember that back in December when the Liberals tabled their budget, we are $63 billion a year in the hole. That is money that's put on our country's credit card, adding to that $1.3 trillion debt that is going and ballooning and ballooning. The CBC needs to have their budgets reduced, and there's many ways that I believe can do that. The bonusing alone from the CBC is into the tens of millions of dollars at a time when viewership is down, revenues are down, and the organization is struggling. I'm in favor of Canadian content, and there are many other opportunities, many other Canadian contents out there. The Liberals have actually gone on Bills C-11 and C-18 and other pieces of legislation that have restricted news in this country. Try Googling an article right now from the CBC and read it on Facebook. Can't do that and haven't been able to for years. So that is certainly not helping the situation. We have made it clear. Good to go? I can continue? We have been very clear that tough decisions have to be made. The CBC can continue to exist. There are other revenue sources that they could have to require what they need to do. Radio-Canada being treated as a separate entity for minority language rights and access to news that way. But being in government, when you have a $63 billion deficit, there's more spending that's to become with the uncertainty of what's going on in the United States. It's one thing to say how you're going to spend money. It's another thing how you're going to pay for it. And right now, there's $63 billion a year in a credit card, and that's not sustainable.
Just for the audience members, you were informed of the rules. Please keep the decor, please. Thank you. Decorum, thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you for the question, Gail. Canadians rely on Canadian journalism, and we cannot rely on US-owned multi-billion-dollar news corporations to provide us with reliable, truthful journalism. The CBC is a fundamental part of our Canadian identity, and it's not just for pleasure, it's so that we can be informed as Canadians about the real issues that our countries face. I had the privilege on Friday morning to meet with two of my three colleagues here on a CBC radio morning broadcast where we met with voters and talked about the real issues that matter to you. We cannot rely. It is not common sense that we should be able to get our news from foreign media sources and rely on that being the truth, especially in the day and age that we are in with increasing AI interference and foreign interference. There is, and I hate to use the word fake news, but there is unreliable information that is being spread. And so what we need is reliable Canadian information that we can count on day to day. The Liberal Party will not be defunding the CBC. Thank you.
Mario?
Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec ce que Sarah vient de dire. Moi, j'ai siégé au sein du TV Ontario, TFO, en 96-99, et je sais comment c'est important de la qualité du contenu canadien, canadien-français, etc. C'est une grave erreur que les conservateurs font de couper dans cette ligne budgétaire-là. Comme Sarah vient de le dire, tout à fait, Facebook, Twitter, Google, fake news, il y en a tellement de tout ça, là, c'est d'autant plus important qu'on a besoin de ces réseaux-là pour nous donner l'information qu'on veut à jour et non discriminée et non biaisée. Merci.
Gordon?
Il y a une expression en Québec que j'aime bien, qui veut dire « mettre chez nous ». Je crois qu'on doit faire la même chose pour tout le pays. Moi, je suis dans une forme une Québécoise, ça veut dire que je suis né au Québec, je suis marié au Québec, j'avais fait mes études secondaires à Montréal, j'avais travaillé à canton de l'Est. Je crois que la fierté que les Québécois ont dans ce pays ont besoin dans tout le Canada, et c'est vraiment maintenant un moment d'unité pour le reste du Canada. The rest of Canada is being sucked into the American vortex. When I hear people talk, they talk like they're American. I've been down there. We used to not talk that way. So the only way we maintain our identity and who we are and our economic strength is to not get sucked into the American cultural vortex. I would go farther than just improving the CBC. I would say we can use the federal government's anti-monopoly powers to break up that control that was mentioned. That should not be allowed, and the federal government has the power to deal with it. And the NIAM anti-monopoly laws don't just apply to American ownership of news. It applies to the conglomeration that the Liberals just approved of Shaw being bought out by Rogers. There's a bigger problem of power and wealth concentration in the country. So thank you very much.
Next question.
Yes, my name's Jackie, and I realize we're right at the end, and you don't want a big, long question or everybody to answer, so this is a yes or no answer. Okay?
Those are brutal.
Yes, they are.
We had one, if you listen to the
It's
TV.
very simple. Okay? I realize we have a lot of challenges to deal with. Many. Housing, finances, et cetera, we could go on and on and on. One thing that is very important to me is all the things, all the challenges that you have to deal with, that you keep in mind the health and respect for our foundational home, our planet. Okay? Will you keep the respect and health of our planet in top of mind when you are dealing with the challenges that you have to deal with?
Sarah?
Thank you, Jackie. Yes. I'll follow the rules and just keep it at that.
Oh, that's me? My turn? Okay, thank you.
You gotta just follow.
He's going to say no.
Carbon tax, individual carbon tax, no. Commercial industrial tax, yes. This is how we're going to be part of the protecting the planet. Thank you.
Gordon?
And emphatic, unilateral, that's the only really reason I'm a Green Party candidate. Yes. 'Cause
And Eric?
I'll say yes in the short answer, but I want to give some context additionally to that about how Canada can do that. We are given 2 minutes.
no, it's just a yes or no answer. We're not given 2
Eric,
minutes.
you have
2
your
minutes.
2 minutes.
He said-
Order, please.
Yes. Okay. Easy like that. Not that hard.
So now we will go to some questions that were forwarded online for electors who aren't in attendance. I have the first one here. And who are we starting off with, Andre, to answer that? Mario?
Yeah.
Okay, Mario. From Alan McDonald of Alexandria. Over the past 50 years, every party in power has used the PMOs, the Prime Minister's office, to dominate and control cabinet ministers and backbenchers. Will this continue if your party wins the election?
Oh, fascinating question, right? For the NDP. I mean, the goal is to get as many NDP in the House of Commons on April 28th. And obviously, with the small number of NDP we have proved it in the past parliament that with only 25, we got the dental care, pharma care, we got the anti-scab law, we have we have 2 weeks paydays for sick days. We have proven that we can get things done. And this is just. I think we're going to fight against that. We need to be. I really believe in the traditional role of the MP, like going back to the reading and studying and consulting with the community. And I hope we're going to go back to this one day, because we were very far away from this, unfortunately. Thank you.
Gordon?
Great. I really appreciate that question. way back when, there was a guy called Pierre Trudeau, a smart guy, but I'd say a bit too smart, and he started this. It used to be that of a local EDA, you join the local EDA, you vote in Eric. Central power couldn't go against the local EDA. What Pierre did is he said, aha, unless I sign off, you don't get to be a candidate, and if you basically PISS off the leader, boom, you're toast. So you have no power. The local EDA, which I've been part of as a Reform Party member, really has no power under that system. So we would get rid of that. We actually don't have party discipline in the Green Party in the same way. I was asked the other night, I had an opinion and said a proposed policy platform about everybody having disability insurance, just like we have a pension plan. And I was asked, is that the Green Party platform? And I said, no, that's Gord's platform. But guess what? And said, is that allowed? Absolutely. Within Green Party, that is absolutely allowed. It's a deeper picture that really has to do with the structure of our democracy, and that's why, once again, I want to emphasize we need some form of proportional representation. You want power to be local, you want people's vote to really care, you want real democracy, you've got to change the system. And this is only the tip of the iceberg of this antiquated, historic, 150-year-old nonsense we have. Thank you.
So I'd say in the Prime Minister's office and ones that have gone up to Allen's point for the last 50 years, there's a need whenever a party goes out and makes a list of platform commitments that there's a centralized response to make sure you're delivering on what you said you're going to do. I think what's very key is making sure you take feedback back from the grassroots about what's going on. We have a very internalized good process. I've been lucky now for over 5 years. I worked as a staff member before to see the internal workings of our party where we have a caucus advisory process. We review every bill and every piece of legislation. Everyone brings their feedback by geography, by background and way of life, financial context, all of those things they're able to do. And on government legislation, able to come to a consensus on what's best as a party. There is two-line whips. You're able to go with notice to do that. We have a free and open private members business program, which is very important and very helpful, I think, that a lot of parties really use. But I also think from a local perspective, it's part of being a good local voice is being able to bring local issues to the national forefront or take national issues that are important to you and get them on the radar. There was a bit of a shot earlier that about going to spaghetti suppers and golf tournaments. That is actually being involved in the community and going out and hearing what everyday people are saying and thinking and what they're not thinking. I pride myself on going out to those events, A, to support the people that are putting a spaghetti supper on. They do a lot of hard work and dedication to do that, but I'm also talking to hundreds of people every week, asking them what's important to them or not. So at the end of the day, I'm able to go and advocate. We talked before about the International Joint Commission. We talked about the work in the blood ban and organ donation. A local issue in Akwesasne is the location of the bridge tolls in CBSA. I'm able as a local voice to speak out, and I think that's important to be able to do as a strong local member of Parliament.
Thank you so much for the question. I believe very much in speaking up for the truth and the things that matter to each and every one of us. And my role as an MP is to advocate for the constituents in my riding. For anyone who has seen me on City Council, I have a tendency to say what I think, and I am thoughtful, and I do the research. I am not here to cause problems where problems don't need to be caused, but if there is an issue that I feel strongly about, you better believe I will speak out against it. I have aligned myself with the Liberal parties because the values are in alignment with my own values. And if they were not, I wouldn't be in front of you today. I think it's important to recognize that when we bring differing ideas to our party, we bring strength and diversity to the message that comes forward in the end. I'm going to mention somebody who is now sitting in a cabinet position, Minister Nate Erskine-Smith, who's now the housing minister, who has been notorious for being independent in his perspectives. And you can see that within the Liberal Party, he was now rewarded with a cabinet position. So I think if there's anything that shows that that diversity of voices and perspectives is welcomed within the Liberal Party, that is an example. I will be happy, and it would be my honor to advocate and speak honestly on behalf of all the constituents of this riding. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
La question suivante a été envoyée par courriel par un électeur avant le débat, et puis ça sera la dernière question aujourd'hui. This question is the last question of the day. It's was sent by Sean King from Iroquois. It's a proven fact that the federal government continues to use public-private partnerships, 3 Ps, within the government, but more specifically, national defense. Do you support ending or reevaluating the use of the 3 Ps to ensure that they are cost-effective and in the public's interest? Yes or no?
Me?
Wait, Sarah. Wait.
Yes, I think we should always be reevaluating the decisions we make.
I think we're not very in favor when we're talking about privatization, but you know, I think the NDP will be open for discussion if there's a major issue. But again, we want to make sure that it's quality workers that we use and good jobs, and we want to defend the labor and make sure we buy Canadian stuff and. You know, if we're going to be collaborative, but with you know, grains of salt, and we're going to stay back a bit and make sure these things I just mentioned are defended.
Gordon?
Right. I was lucky enough to be a national defense consultant for several years when I worked with a colonel who was retired, and at HQ. And the fact is that the Army and national defense is tiny. They need to have private support. Our entire Army, Navy, and Air Force has fewer people than basically the police department of New York City. I give you a sense. We're tiny. We shouldn't be that tiny. Now, I'm not pro-war, but Switzerland has a great army, and they don't have war. I'm a believer that we have to have strong defense. So I'm going to agree with Eric on this. I can see him nodding his head. Thank you, Eric. But we don't use it to attack. We use it to defend. And we need to make the Army, Navy, and Air Force much, much larger. It's really tiny. We are the 9th largest economy in the world. And I don't know how small our army is, but it's way below. I know it's much smaller than Netherlands, that's for sure. So we need to increase it so we can do it all in-house, which we can't do right now. They just can't do it. The biggest threat right now to Canada is way in the north. The Americans have said that the Northwest Passage is international waters, and they're supposed to be our friends. We don't have any Navy presence up there. We need that presence. If we want real sovereignty, unfortunately, you need to walk gently, but carry a big stick. All right? And we need that as well. Let's walk gently, but we also need a big stick. And that's how we keep the peace. Thank you.
So to answer Sean's question, I'm not opposed to 3P partnerships, but a very key detail is how they're written, and the devil's in the details. We've seen ones not go well. I think of Ottawa's LRT, and a kind of a 3P partnership there is certainly not something to be desired and lacking accountability and mechanisms for public sector projects. But there are examples of where they could work. So at a high level, I think they can work, but sadly there's been some examples because of a lack of accountability or best practices put into them where they haven't been good. Gordon, yes, I do agree. Well, everybody stay calm. The Green and the Conservatives are agreeing here, but I'll just say this. There are examples of the federal government working with private business. The Davie Shipyard, for example, in procurement of shipbuilding. That is something that does work. It keeps it Canadian and can do that. I think to the point what we need to do over the course of the next couple of years is focus on increasing our national defense spending in the Canadian Armed Forces, rebuild our numbers, rebuild the number of people that are serving, and restore the greatness that we've had. I'm very proud of every single person that serves, but as Gordon said, it's tiny right now. we're not meeting our 2% NATO target. We need to do that for the role on the stage of a peace through strength perspective. And so the one thing I'll just finish up by saying is any agreement, regardless of whether it's a 3P partnership, whether it's within the federal public service, whether it's in DND, one of the things we do need to make sure is there's a routine value for money, and the independent auditor general is always looking at ways to improve and making sure there's value for money on every single project.
So we've come to the part of the agenda with closing remarks. So in reverse order, we'll have Sarah, Eric, Gordon, and Mario.
Thank you so much to the organizers of this event, first of all, and to each and every one of you who came out today. Merci à tous les organisateurs pour leurs efforts et à tous ceux et celles qui sont venus aujourd'hui. And a great thank you to my fellow candidates for a lively and respectful conversation. We all care deeply about our country and about our communities. My pledge to each and every one of you today is this. If you choose to cast your vote for me, I will get things done as your member of parliament in the governing party. I will serve you, this community, this region, and this country with purpose, compassion, integrity, and dignity. And I will work across party lines to address the core issues that impact our region. Si ma vision pour SDG ressemble à la vôtre, n'hésitez pas à partager avec vos voisins, vos amis et votre famille. Encouragez-les à voter. L'avenir est good pour SDG. Lors du vote anticipé la fin de la semaine prochaine ou le 28 avril, votez Sarah Good. If my vision for SDG resembles yours, I need your support in sharing this with your neighbors, your friends, and your family. We need you at the polls so that together we can build a vibrant future for all of Canada. During next weekend's advance polls, or on April 28th, vote for Sarah Good. The future of Stormont, Dundas, Glengarry is good. Thank you.
Thank you to John and Andre. You did a great job with moderators for the debate. Much appreciated. Un grand merci aussi à Glengarry Times et chaque personne qui travaille ici aujourd'hui et tout le monde qui sont présentés aujourd'hui. To my fellow candidates, a great debate, always spirited and good, but respectful. Gord had a pretty quiet job as a parliamentarian. We didn't get too wild or out of control. And next time we have this debate, I think we're going to get Gordon a PowerPoint projector here so he can put some slides up. We've had a very clear choice you've seen here today in the next election. We've had a Liberal government for the last 9.5 years that has had a dismal performance record. We've seen taxes increase, we've seen government spending increase, we've seen life become more expensive, and taxes going up while services decrease. And at a time when we possibly need to be more reliant on ourselves rather than the United States, the Liberals have put ourselves behind the 8 ball where we're not developing our natural resources, we're not developing our energy projects, and our economy is not firing on all cylinders. J'espère que vous avez beaucoup d'opportunités ici sur la solution conservateur de grand bon sens qui pouvait restaurer l'espoir de nous méritons dans ce pays. Today, the Liberals are asking for a 4th term, which is like asking the arsonist to put the fire out. I'm instead asking you to choose a different direction for more hope and a change in this country. One where we lower taxes on work, home, energy, and investment. Lower taxes for a change to bring home businesses and jobs and let you take more home with your paycheck. Where we fully repeal the Liberal carbon tax on everything, for everyone, for real, for good, and forever. Where we get more homes built and lower the cost, where we fix our immigration system, and where we can give an inspiration to those that are suffering and struggling to know there is a better way and there are better times ahead. My name is Eric Duncan. I'm asking for your support. Je veux demander votre soutien. Join me in putting Canada first for a change. Thank you very much.
Gordon?
Premièrement, merci à vous pour être ici. Il y a un soleil là-bas. J'espère qu'après ça, on vient là-bas avec les bons rires. Nous sommes confrontés à 2 menaces existentielles, le président Donald Trump et la crise climatique. La bonne nouvelle est que ces crises peuvent et doivent être considérées comme un signal d'alarme dont nous avions besoin pour changer la façon dont nous gérons notre économie et dont nous vivons nos vies. We've heard a lot, unfortunately, from our friends the Conservatives about what's wrong with Canada. I think we need to focus on what's right while admitting to the long-term outstanding issues that we've heard about that sadly go back to both Liberal and Conservative governments. They've kept business as usual going. I hope what you've heard today from the Greens is we're not business as usual. We're coming from a different perspectives. We're not pro-pipelines. Now, both parties are pro-pipelines. Who knew? We're not. We're pro an electrical grid. It turns out that electricity is much more efficient. We have vast quantities of hydro, nuclear, and renewable power out there to feed our industries, homes, and move our cars. But, you know, that brings me back to the fact that this has been such a civil and enjoyable time together. Politics, as you know, can be very negative. I write children's books as one of the things I do to keep sane. And what I want to do is I am your Lorax. I speak for the trees, yes, and I do hug trees, but mostly I speak for the unspoken people with no voices, and that means the future generations of Canadians who aren't even born yet. So if you're thinking like me, if you're a grandparent, or if you're a mother and father, think about them, and then when you do that, you're going to vote Green. Thank you.
Merci à vous tous, Alexandria. C'était un plaisir pour moi d'être ici. Écoutez, moi, je suis un homme I'm a family man. I've been with my partner for 40 years. I got two wonderful daughters. I'm a hardworking man and bilingual. And that's my second time I ran in SDG. Last time, unfortunately, you were not part of our riding, but now you are. So I hope you vote in a great number. And every vote counts, I mean, you know, and we're sending as many NDP MPs in the House of Commons on April 28th, we can get things done. Thank you.
As we wrap up this afternoon, final thanks to Andre, Mark, and Gord, the candidates, all the volunteers, and you, the voters who took the time to attend today.
Dernier remerciement à John, Mark, Gordon, aux candidats et à tous les bénévoles et à vous, les électeurs, qui avez pris le temps d'assister au débat d'aujourd'hui.
Election day is April 28th. Advance polls are April 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. Take the time to go and vote. Safe travels home.
Le jour d'élection est le 28 avril. Les votes anticipés sont le 18, 19, 20 et 21 avril. Prenez le temps d'aller voter. Bon retour à la maison.